Welcome to day 3 of this extended break away from Mr. Hart being out of the classroom. If you are up to date, and if you aren't, that's okay. You can go back and do the lessons on the Mayans and the Aztecs. You should be ready. This, I believe, will be a Monday or Tuesday, the 23rd or 24th of September. We should be ready to learn about our third Mesoamerican empire, which is going to be the Incas. We should be on a document that looks like this, and you are going to start with a 5-minute review. It's possible that you've actually already done it before you press play on this video, which is great. You can just move along. But if not, you need to kind of start by pausing me and answering these 5 minutes is the length I want you to do it in. 3 questions in 5 minutes is what I should say, from the classes that you have had without me in the room, aka stuff about the Mayans and the Aztecs. So feel free to look at those past videos. Old notes. If you quietly work with a partner next to you, that's fine, but you do need to get answers for these 3 questions before you proceed with the Incas. So I'll take it you'll pause and then come back to this video when you're ready. So now that you've gotten this review done, you are ready to learn about the Incas. You're going to have 4 slides here, and then you're going to have a little table activity that's sort of an extended knowledge check. Then you'll be able to pick up work with your posters. So a couple things about the Incas to get us going here. One, this is, I believe, to this point in world history, the farthest along in time that we will have gotten. In fact, at the end of their reign, before the Spanish conquered them in the 1500s, that's only about 500-ish years ago, so we're getting out of ancient history times, to say the least. Their capital was Cuzco, and their most famous city, which we'll talk more about here in a minute, would be Machu Picchu. The Incas, if you know heard of the nation of Peru in South America, were kind of uniquely located along the west coast, really the west strip, maybe think of California a little bit in America, of southern or South America. At its peak, and I've hit on this before, the Inca Empire was really large. Again, bucking that stereotype of all Native American groups were small hunter-gatherer types. At its max, it had around 10 million people. And partially, and you'll learn, there were a lot of mountains in the Inca Empire. They had to build lots of roads to navigate said mountains, and they built over 10,000 miles of roads from modern-day Ecuador to modern-day Chile. And they also, similar to the Chinese that you had just learned about before I left, they ruled in a dynasty cycle as well, and they had a single ruler known as the Sapa Inca, and it's in the name a little bit, Inca Empire, Inca Emperor, which in their language meant emperor. So that's the basic, very mountainous, very large and sizable from a population standpoint, known particularly for the city of Machu Picchu. Slide 2. The Andes Mountains are what make up that mountainous region that is noted with the Incas. I always think of the Andes Mountains with those little chocolate mints. Sometimes if you ever stay in a nice enough hotel room or something like that, or maybe your grandma will have them or something when you visit her. But the Andes Mountains are a real thing in the west part of South America. And because there were so many mountains in the Inca Empire, because they're very difficult, especially at that time, to navigate and get around and move to and from, there were a lot of demands on growing crops and then also unifying the people, because mountains naturally make people independent and isolated. So the 2 big things that the Incas embraced that made them successful are, number 1, they began doing terrace farming, which again, I'm no agricultural expert, but in very simple terms, it meant cutting steps. If you look at it from a visual standpoint, cutting steps into the side of the mountain, and because of that, they were able to basically have farming in areas, aka mountains, that are very difficult to grow crops in. I could not tell you the science behind how this was possible, but I do know when I think of the Incas, I think of the cutting steps into the mountains in order to be able to farm. And I mentioned this just a second ago, but they also built tens and thousands of miles of roads for messengers and communication to be possible in and around these Andes Mountains that completely dominated the geography of the Inca Empire. Speaking of mountainous areas, I mentioned the city by name earlier. Machu Picchu is perhaps, and maybe not even perhaps, is probably the most famous element still known today. You can still visit it of the Inca Empire. It's basically this mountainous city. It has incredible views. It was seen as a religious and kind of spiritual site for the Inca, the people. The architecture there is unbelievable, and it is such a unique structure because it is in the heart of mountains. Very difficult to reach, but still one of the most visited places in the world today. Still has 220 structures. They utilize terrace farming in and around it, and it is, I don't know what the United States, maybe the Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower in France, the Great Wall of China, with at least modern day Peru or the former empire that was the Incas. This is kind of the thing that is most associated with that population or with that group of people. And you'll have a chance to explore it a little bit here with your knowledge checks. Religion, society. The Sapa Inca, which was their emperor, if you can recall from slide 1, he held, or she held, absolute powerful, and actually, sort of like the pharaohs in Egypt, believed himself to be a god of sorts and to be the sun, the birth child, if you will, of the sun and the sky that gives warmth to our planet. The empire's religious and military leaders, they managed something called the Mita system, which was basically the tax system that they orchestrated and labor system that they orchestrated for their population. Nobles, because of the mountains, it was very difficult to travel, even despite the roads that they made. Nobles would rule locally for the empire, for the emperor that kind of oversaw everything. So they kind of divided and conquered how they ruled, with everything flowing up to the emperor. That Mita system I just mentioned was basically a forced labor where citizens did volunteer work, aka they wouldn't be paid, for the empire in the name of helping the Inca Empire grow and develop and succeed. So not really a fair bargain if you were a citizen of the Incas. There was no personal property, which was tough for citizens, not like how it is today where you can own your own house or your car or business, things like that. None of that in the Inca Empire. And this is very unique, and you can look closely at a real picture there. There's a graph or more of a drawing in the middle right there. But they didn't have a written language, but they did have quipus, which was how they communicated, and the biggest thing with it was recording records for like economic trading, where colored strings with knots would represent different numbers and that sort of thing. I can't admit to you that I'm fluent in quipus or would know how to communicate in it, but it is how they were able to keep records of things despite not having a non-traditional written language. I include some of these graphs of social classes. FYI, if you've ever heard the Disney movie, The Emperor's New Groove, that is loosely based around Inca culture, and I believe a lot of the names of the characters in that film are in reference. I think the main character's name is Cuzco, which was their capital, and things like that, if you've seen that, perhaps with a younger sibling or something. There's some extra information that might actually be really, really helpful for your poster project that's on your doc as well. You can probably see it already as you skim past those pictures. You have 2 little activities to do before you get into your poster, and with very simple work. You just need to write down 3 things you learned or observed or thought as you completed each. The one on the right, very simple TED Ed video on the rise and fall of the Incas. You can watch that, I don't care what order you go in. And then the other one, which I think you might find kind of interesting, is a website that will take you to a 3D tour, looks just like this, a 3D tour and walkthrough of Machu Picchu. It's the best I can do outside of getting plane tickets for you to visit it in person. You can just explore. There's stuff on the left. Sorry, guys. And listen and get information. I don't want too much overlap on the audio there, but you can explore that website. It's really cool. It'll be like you're there, and you can do the 3D spin around thing and whatnot. And of course, if you can't see this on your doc yet, you can fill out your 3 things underneath each website or video link that I have included. Beyond that, this is the last day that you will have your sub, which means next class I'm going to be back in the room with you, even though it probably feels like I've been gone forever. So at this point, hopefully you've made, at least maybe 50% progress on your poster thing. Of course, today you added Inca information, and you have the same full instructions link down there. And your goal today would be to finish up anything you wanted to get done on the Mayans and Aztecs, to maybe hit that 2/3 done point, and then start working on the Inca third of your poster. We will have kind of a review build work day. I'm not going to collect them the minute you see me on my first day back in your room, but the farther along you are with this poster on the day that I'm back, the easier life is going to be for you. So you're almost done with this extended sub period. Work hard, continue to respect whoever's in the room running things for me while I'm gone, and good luck. Within reason, I can answer questions over email or Canvas or anything like that if something comes up. So best of luck. Thank you for working hard, and I will be seeing you shortly.